Not everything is for everyone. That's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. Good evening, guys. Welcome back. Today is a Thursday and a very special day for all the camera lovers out in the world because Canon just released a pair of new high spec mirrorless cameras. So Canon EOS R5 and R6 were released. I think the R5, I'm getting confused since the last few hours. Like R5 is the high spec one, which has about, say, that 45 megapixel full frame sensor, and it shoots 8K videos and 8K RAW and all those stuff. R6 is more of like a baby version of that, which can shoot only up to 4K 120 frames per second, and I think it's about 20 megapixel full frame. Now, why do I say that not everything is for everyone? Let me explain. So every time a new camera gets released, be it any type of camera, like be it a cinema camera, or a DSLR, a mirrorless, or anything from like a fancy ones, like probably say even like a neo version of GoPro or Osmo or anything from Intax or anything. What happens is you are the camera manufacturers, let me go there. So the camera manufacturers make sure that they reach out to people who will ensure that they write or make videos about this new cameras in such a way that we, the end users, or like the consumers of those content, get very much attracted to that and go to a point wherein we say to ourselves like, yes, I need this camera. Do you really need? That's a bigger question. But we are made to feel that this is the best camera and I need it. We don't think about whether we will be able to give the best content possible using this camera, or whether we'll be able to utilize all the best features that this camera has, or for that matter, even we don't even know whether we really need it. We need this camera because you see that this is the best camera out in the market. Time and again, like I think I've done it over the last several years. Every time a very hyped camera is released, especially now the things like this Canon R5, or there is one more new one coming up, which is supposedly that Sony A7S II replacement. We are not sure whether it is A7S III or some other name, but the moment a camera gets too much of hype, right? The moment it is released, everyone feels that this is exactly the camera they need. Now, nobody really bothers whether they can really afford this camera, whether all the specs are really required for them, or whether they really need this camera at all, because they might be a photographer, they might be not even a professional photographer, not even a freelancer, they might just be a photographer who likes to take photos, but they get so much pull to this that they start feeling that, okay, I have to use my credit card, or I have to do something to make sure that I get this camera. So now this is exactly the point. I've told this to so many people in the past during my workshops or whatever is the case, that don't get carried away by the new cameras. Now let's get very specific to this particular new camera that is released. Let's go to only this specific one, which is Canon EOS R5. This is an 8K RAW capable camera, and it is a 45 megapixel full frame. Now the first and foremost thing is, do you really need all this data? Main thing, just to ensure that you are able to capture enough number of 45 megapixel full frame photos, you need bigger memory cards, which means you have to spend more money on the memory cards. And apparently this is like a dual card kind of a camera, when one of them is a CF Express, another is SD. I'm pretty sure to capture these 8K videos or even the 45 megapixel full frame high frames per second photo, you need the CF Express instead of the SD card. So you're spending more money there. Now once you're done shooting, like say you really shot 8K for whatever reason, storing that 45 megapixel stills and 8K videos, storing them, that hard drive or whatever is your archiving medium, that requirement is huge. That will mean again more money. Now the third thing is there really a market out there so that you can go and give your 8K footage, or are you really thinking about all this future proofing thing? That's something which you have to think about. People have not even adapted to 4K. I'm telling you very frankly, it's 2020 July. People have not even adapted to 4K, and we are already talking about 8K capable camera. So you really have to think whether do you really need that much amount of resolution. If it is a proper professional, he would go ahead and tell like he wants to use it for cropping and some dynamic zooming or probably stabilization things. Perfectly fine. I totally go with that. That is for a professional. But for a common man like you and me, do we really need that 8K is a question. Now, if you really see our situation, what has happened over the last 4 or 5 months is that because of all this lockdown and people staying indoors and high usage of internet and all, YouTube took a decision of making the default stream at I think around 720p or even less than that. So forget about people watching 4K on a TV. People are not even able to watch like a full HD on their iPad or mobile. So people are still watching content on their mobile. So think about it, like if you really need to shoot in 8K, downscale it to say 4K or 1080p, and the end consumer is actually seeing it on say a 720p on his small 5-inch or 6-inch mobile phone. So think about it. But if you're somebody who has like a bigger plans, something like want to shoot movies, want to make big production stuff and all the stuff, rent it out. I'm pretty sure it's just a matter of weeks, if not for months. The moment the camera is out in the market for purchase, a lot of rental houses will make sure that they have this camera. So at that point of time, rent it and see if it is really worthwhile for you. It is really something which you can adapt to you, like things like the memory card cost and the storage cost and all the, forget about all those things. Even your editing, is your computer capable enough of editing 8K footage? That is something which you'll have to think about. So all those things you need to evaluate, and then you need to make a decision. I'm telling all these things because it's a note to self for me as well, because I don't need to get tempted for this. I personally have these two cameras. I'm shooting now with a pretty old GH4 and I'm shooting it in 1080p so that I can edit and upload it easily. But this is a very capable camera. Though it is very old, it's a very capable camera. My main camera is a GH5 and I'm pretty sure it can do a lot of wonders. My only nitpicking thing is that it does not have a good low light capability, and again when it comes to even daylight usage, all this depth of field issues matter, but it's okay. I think I can manage that with the way I shoot, or probably using proper lenses. But that should not mean that my GH5 is bad or my GH4 is bad and I immediately jump ships and again go and invest on a Canon or something like that. I have come from Canon, but it does not mean that again I have to sell all my Panasonic gear and I have to go to Canon. So that's exactly my point. So whenever anything comes up in the market, like new cameras and all, especially if it is not from your own camera brand that you have been shooting with. Okay, I'm not telling this because I'm in Panasonic and I hate Canon. I love that camera. The camera specs are good, but I don't need it. I seriously don't need 8K. I don't need those 45 megapixels still frames. So it's all about you taking a decision about talking to yourself and figuring it out whether that is actually meant for you or not. If you're in a doubt, go ahead, rent it out, try it for a week or for a month or whatever, it depends on your capability. Go ahead and rent it out, try it, and then make a decision, rather than spending all this $3,000 or $5,000 on a brand new camera, which you will predominantly use during your small productions or once in a month kind of use. So that's pretty much what I wanted to tell. Don't get carried away. Not everything new is meant for everyone. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow.